Paul Edwards. I'm an independently published horror author, and first and foremost, a monster kid. Today I'm reading Famous Monsters of Filmland magazine, issue number 36, from December 1965. It's from the same year I am. I thought you might enjoy looking through this vintage monster magazine with me, page by page. And just in case you don't have your own copy of Famous Monsters of Filmland, issue number 36 from 1965, together, you and I can see what kind of vintage monster goodness is in here. Well, we're off to a promising start just from the cover. Famous Monsters of Filmland was big on covering different kinds of monster films. They covered the Japanese giant monsters, they covered Poverty Row monster films, but Universal Studios had the right of way as far as they were concerned. They gave primacy to the Universal monsters. And this, of course, is Lon Chaney Jr. as the Mummy, Karis. So the first thing we notice on this magazine is the cover price, 50 cents. But you can get your 50 cents refunded. There's a contest. We'll see that inside. House of Wax, Face of Fire revealed inside. Oh, man. Announcing our second fantastic amateur makeup contest. You can win fabulous prizes. The Mummy's Ghost. Don't miss complete story in this issue. The Mummy's Ghost was the third of the Karis mummy movies made in the 1940s. So, with that in mind, here we go. Calling all boy spooks. That time of year is upon us again. Jack-o'-lantern time. Candlelit pumpkin time. Now, wait a minute. Remember, this is the December issue. But magazines, they list it, a few months ahead. I think that's actually supposed to be the date that the realtor is supposed to take it off the shelves. So this probably came out in October. Sheet and mask time. The favorite time of the year for all true blue ghouls. Read this issue of Famous Monsters. It will give you inspirations on how to scare your friends and neighbors. From Dr. Acula. That's one of Forrest J. Ackerman's silly pseudonyms. I'm not sure why it's calling all boys spooks, though. These magazines, I guess probably the majority of readers were boys, but certainly I don't think that they were all boys. I'll tell you right now, my channel is pretty well established in its niche, and they give us a demographic, and very steadily, a third of my audience is female. So it's not just boys that like vintage monsters and classic horror. And I don't like the fact that it's calling all boy spooks if they're not going to also have a calling all girl spooks one. But, oh well. Oh, you can get the Famous Monsters 1966 yearbook. I do have that. I should do a video on that one. 100 pages, sure. But how many of those pages are ads? Because Famous Monsters was famous for its wild ads. I'm sure we'll get to that. Usually when you read Famous Monsters of Filmland, you're supposed to start at the back with the ads and work your way forward, but we're not going to do that today. Okay, let's dive in. Confidential photos from the pages of Dr. Acula's private album reveal Hollywood's secret plans for future picks. So these are up-and-coming movies. And the first one, I can tell you already, is from Die Monster Die, which was a very, very loose film adaptation of H.P. Lovecraft's The Color Out of Space. And it starred Boris Karloff. And the caption here says that this is Boris Karloff in this makeup, but it's actually a stuntman. By the time this was 1965, by the time they made this film, Karloff was not able to run around on set. So that was a stuntman during the monster scenes of that film. Whoa. This is from War of the Zombies. Wow. Planet of Blood, a movie that was in some places released under the title Queen of Blood. You know, if you like the 1979 movie Alien and want to see what its roots were, there were two older monster movies you should check out. One is called It, the Terror from Beyond Space. The other is this film, Planet of Blood. Both of them are movies in which a crew aboard a spaceship is terrorized by a monster that's picking them off one by one. Whoa. Ooh. From Dark Eyes of London. That's an often overlooked Bela Lugosi film. Okay. So one problem with these kinds of monster movies is that usually they spent most of the movie preparing you for what the monster would look like. So it wasn't quite as laughable when you were watching the movie as it is if they just show you a picture of it right up front. But when you see a picture of Beverly Garland screaming her head off at the sight of the alligator man, out of the context of the movie, it's kind of laughable. The movie, The Alligator People, really is not that bad as far as monster movies go. You might want to check it out if you've never seen it. Yeah. You know, the funny thing is, Lon Chaney Jr. was in this movie. He's not the monster for once, but he was in this movie. And I'm surprised they didn't take the opportunity to put a picture of him in. Yeah. I want to know how the alligator man got his sweater on over this huge snout. Or maybe he's wearing an alligator sweater. I guess that's Forrest J. Ackerman level humor. Okay. St. George and the Seven Curses. This is a film that in some markets was simply called The Magic Sword. Doesn't this look like a conehead from Saturday Night Live? Tell me it doesn't. Ooh. All right. That's a little creepier. Nice. It's a pretty good photo spread on this one. That's what we really came to see. The dragon. Nice. Two heads are better than one. Rip Van Dracula. All right, here's the feature story, and it was the cover story as well. The Mummy's Ghost. The scary story of the haunter from the past. Well, despite the name, The Mummy's Ghost, it's just plain The Mummy. It's not a ghost. The mummy is, you know, it's up to you to decide if the mummy is actually completely dead or just comatose and unnaturally animated centuries beyond when it should have been. But it's a solid thing. It's not just a spirit. And they had, in this line of films, they had The Mummy's Hand, and then The Mummy's Tomb, then this one, The Mummy's Ghost, and they followed this with The Mummy's Curse. But John Carradine is good in everything. He had a very low voice. George Zucco is like the undeclared king of Poverty Row thrillers. He was in so many spooky crime movies, I couldn't even begin to count them all. George Zucco. But here he played the older of the high priests of Arkham. Incidentally, in the first couple movies, it was not the High Priests of Arkham. They changed it to Arkham in this movie. And Arkham, if you don't recognize it, is a nod to H.P. Lovecraft. It's the same place we get Arkham Asylum in the Batman franchise. It's a nod to H.P. Lovecraft's fictitious town in Massachusetts. By the way, this movie also takes place in a fictitious town in Massachusetts, Mapleton. I grew up in Massachusetts, and I'll tell you right now, there's no Mapleton or Arkham. There's Kyrus on his rampage. Lon Chaney Jr. did a good job in this role, which probably seems like not much of a challenge for an actor, but I think there's a lot of physicality to the role. There's zero dialogue, but that means that you have to express yourself with body language. You know, all through this series of mummy films, they made a point of saying that the brew made from the mysterious tanna leaves, the brew had to be given continuously to the mummy to keep him alive, or whatever state he was in that looked like life. 3 leaves brewed to keep him alive, 9 leaves brewed to give him movement. But never for any reason were they allowed to give him more than 9 leaves, because if they did, he would turn into an unstoppable killing monster. Well, when they set it up like that, you know at some point there's going to be a time when Kyrus does get more than 9 tanna leaves worth of brew and does become a supercharged mummy. But that never happens in any of these movies. It's a setup that never is paid off. If they were going to do one more mummy sequel, that's what they should have done. That I can tell you right now, that's what the story should have been. That Kyrus got a brew of more than 9 tanna leaves, and now he was even more unstoppable. This is probably the single best circulated picture of Lon Chaney Jr. as the mummy. And spoiler alert for an 80-year-old movie, this, for once, is a mummy movie that does not end with a happy ending. It ends very badly for the heroine. All right. And there you go. They've ended the film, and now you don't have to actually go see it because you read all about it in the magazine. Mystery Photo Department. Can you guess what film this is from? And then here's the answer to last month's mystery photo from Revenge of the Black Spider. Wow. Monster Makeup Handbook. This is an excerpt from a book that they had. You could do split face, not to be confused with Two-Face. Look at that, though. Yep. Remember now, this is the mid-'60s. So this magazine was read by the first generation of monster kids. The children who got into vintage horror and classic monsters between 1958 and 1965. And I was just born in 65, so I was born in the first wave, but I wasn't old enough to be part of it. I was in the second wave of monster kids in the 70s. But these set the groundwork for what we were able to enjoy in the 70s. And if you like that monster makeup tip, you can send away and get the whole book, see? And you can do all kinds of monsters. There are hundreds of inside tips in this book. Look at some of the faces you can create yourself with this handbook. Whoa. Oh my gosh. Mail this no-risk coupon today. Okay, you gotta admit, if you were an 8-year-old boy or girl, this would appeal to you. All you have to do is mail in 70 cents plus 10 cents postage. I think I should mail it in now. See if they send me anything. The greatest contest ever. All right, so this is a makeup contest, and the monster kids could do up their own monster makeup and then take a picture and send it in, and you could win prizes. Great. But the problem is you can't just use your own makeup out of whatever you've got around the house. You have to buy their official Famous Monsters makeup kit, and whatever makeup you do has to come from the official Famous Monsters makeup kit. So really what they're doing is convincing you to buy their makeup kit, and, you know, they're happy as long as you bought it. To Kill a Mockingbird. Television's most horrible hour. The day Dr. Acula's brain went down memory lane. Nice. Yep, Forrest J. Ackerman gave a fairly extensive interview here, and there's basically a transcript of the interview. It's one of the Sinbad monsters. A lesser-known Universal Studios monster, Captive Wild Woman. This is a series of movies that is really all over the map. There's different explanations for the ape woman, and I don't know. I don't really understand that series of Universal films as well as I probably should, because to me it seems very scattershot. Here's the great Peter Lorre. Oh, Boris Karloff from the film Black Sabbath. Whoa. Okay, page by page, awesome. Artwork of Kong and a publicity photo of Lon Chaney Jr. as the Wolfman. They shot a whole bunch of publicity photos for the Wolfman in this same photo shoot. Online, you can find other images from this same photo shoot. They're really good. Fay Wray being prepared to be sacrificed to King Kong. When my wife and I were planning our wedding, I wanted so bad to have a wedding cake with the bride and groom figures being King Kong and Fay Wray, because I tower over her. But she wouldn't have it for some strange reason. So I learned right away that marriage is about compromise. Oh well. Either that or marry a fellow monster kid. Elsa Lanchester doing awesomely in The Bride of Frankenstein. You probably know this if you're watching a video like this, but just in case you don't, Elsa Lanchester also played Mary Shelley herself in the prologue to this movie, where she's recapping what happened in the first film. Brides of Dracula, an excellent Hammer film. The Wolfman, of course, always good. The Wolfman was always good, even when the movies he was in were not particularly good. I'm looking at you, House of Frankenstein. Okay, well, House of Wax is a 1953 remake of Mystery in the Wax Museum, which at the time this magazine came out was a lost film. Although in the 1980s, we got Mystery in the Wax Museum back in its entirety. But anyway, 1953's House of Wax was a huge horror movie hit. It was the movie that shot Vincent Price to superstardom. He was already a movie star, but that was the movie that really put him on the top of the heap. The Return of the Fly. Okay, here's a question for monster kids, young and old. Do you prefer the monster in The Fly, the original 1950s one, or in Return of the Fly with the much larger head? I prefer this monster. by far. I'm not saying that the movie is better. I'm not saying that at all. But in terms of the actual monster, I like the design from Return of the Fly. It's more inhuman. It's more otherworldly. And then, of course, in the total ripoff third film, Curse of the Fly, you don't get a monster at all. This scene didn't happen in the movie. This was a publicity picture from it. Vincent Price was in the movie. He was in the first two, but this didn't happen, though. But it's a good shot. Yeah, I really like the oversized insect head, because it shows what an abomination this is. Because it's unnatural. The head is way too big for the body. An ordinary organism would not be like this. So the fact that the experiment gone awry has done this just shows what a complete freak the creature is. Yep. Yep. Oh, that's a good one. I like the shadow in that. All right, you can get some back issues of Creepy while you're at it. You asked for it. Kids would write in and ask for photographs of certain movies or of certain sites. Now, here's something that probably everyone watching this video will know is wrong. Okay, so let's look at it first. Doctor Who, as he appears in the British science fiction TV series, shown here for, and it has the name of kids that wrote in to ask for pictures of Doctor Who. Well, this is from the TV series Doctor Who. It's from a First Doctor episode, The Web Planet. And these are something like Menoptera. There's like different kinds of insect people, and these were the butterfly-like people. So this is from the TV show Doctor Who, that's true. But this is not Doctor Who. So, you blew it, 1965 staff of Famous Monsters of Filmland. But you make up for it by showing us Bela Lugosi Dracula. So, all is forgiven. Oh, this is a publicity image from the original 1933 King Kong. This scene happened in the movie, although this exact image is not in the movie. But this, when Kong was knocking the sailors off of the log, that was pretty scary. There was a deleted scene that showed what happened to the sailors when they fell down into that ravine. They were eaten by gigantic spider-like monsters, and they filmed the scene, but it was considered too grisly, and they cut it out of the movie. Peter Jackson's King Kong in 2005 made a point of including a scene where the sailors survived the fall into the ravine and were eaten by spider-like insects down there. Yep, very famous shot from Bride of Frankenstein. Oh. This is a lesser-known horror movie. Even die-hard horror fans might not know this one. Two on a Guillotine. If you're looking for vintage horror that you haven't seen the movie 10 times already, Two on a Guillotine, starring Cesar Romero, best remembered to my generation as having played the Joker on the 1960s Batman show. But it is a mystery and somewhat of a haunted house picture. Two on a Guillotine. It's about basically this is just the setup. I'm not spoiling anything. A stage magician's guillotine trick goes horribly wrong, and his daughter years later inherits his house and is trying to figure out what his secrets are. This is on Bull, Montana. Montana Monster Found in Lost World. Although, my book series, the Mourner's Woods books, my haunted forest that I set all of my stories in, Mourner's Woods, is set at the corner of several northwestern states, one of which is Montana. So, you never know. You could see one of these monsters in Mourner's Woods. No, I make up my own monsters. That was good, though. Monsterama quiz. These are, you'd think this is like monster movie trivia quiz. No, these are all gag questions. Munsters. Which did you like better, the Munsters or the Addams Family? Or did you like them both? You can tell this is still a pretty early issue of Famous Monsters of Filmland because the back issues, there's not all that many of. As the magazine went on through the years, this spread had little bitty magazine covers because there were a zillion of them. You know, every time I do one of these vintage monster magazines, one thing I notice always comes up is the Venus flytrap for sale. I wonder how many of those they actually sold and how many, because I'm sure they were just selling you the seeds. I wonder how many actually sprouted. Ooh, these famous monster kits. I'm sure some of you out there had some of these when you were kids. Human skull, $1.25. Movie projector for $29.95. That seems a little out of place, but what happens is these magazines would sell 8mm or 16mm reels of film that had highlights from great monster movies and sometimes not so great monster movies. And if you didn't have a projector to show them on at home, you could get one here. Rubber monster masks. I can never wear these. I got too hot in them, but they look really good, some of them. The ones here, yeah, these are okay. I'm not crazy about the Frankenstein monster one. Oh, you can get the Munsters too. But see, I'm not crazy about the fact that in these ones, they just draw the monster rather than showing you a picture of the actual mask that you get. Lagoon Monster. Gee, I wonder what that's supposed to be. A copyright-free version of. It's like the Spirit Halloween version of Creature from the Black Lagoon. Ooh. I've seen this online. The double film book, Curse of Frankenstein and Horror of Dracula. I have not seen these. Oh, silent dog whistle. Frankenstein Mad Mask drips blood. Wow. The mad scientist laboratory. 100 experiments you can do. Make Dr. Jekyll jealous. Only $2.98. Miniature spy camera. Printing press. Wow. Make your own monster photo cards. Ooh, Beast with 5 fingers. That's a great horror film. Oh, and here's another movie projector. See, when you order these, you're not getting the whole movie. You're getting basically a highlight reel. But if you were a monster kid in 1965, you would take what you could get. If you could watch 10 minutes of Bela Lugosi as Dracula anytime you wanted, that was a big deal. Of course, we have vinyl albums. I have this one, Famous Monsters Speak. It has a famous voice character actor doing a Frankenstein story on side A and a Dracula story on side B. And even though they have all these other monsters in here, there's no speaking parts for any of these monsters. It's a Frankenstein story and a Dracula story. Music for robots. The Mummy's Chariot, Frankenstein's Flivver. I couldn't think of this in a previous video. Dracula's Dragster. That's it. And the Wolfman's Wolf Wagon. These four were huge sellers. This wouldn't have interested me as a kid because I would have wanted things that looked like what's in the movies. And, you know, the monsters didn't drive cars in the movies. So I wouldn't have been crazy for this. But some kids were. Some kids loved these. Oh, you can get your own guillotine now. Who else wants a live monkey? Gigantic 5-foot balloons. Well, if this balloon is 5 feet, how small is this kid? Oh, actual books. See? Who says these things rot your brain? There's real books here. War of the Worlds and Invisible Man by H.G. Wells. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is not really a book so much as a novella. So this is sort of too short to really count as a novel itself. I wonder if it's the same price as these others. Yep, mail 50 cents for each book. Okay. Oh, Mad Doctor Hypodermic Needle. Monster Inside the Box. Oh, man. War Comics. Blazing Combat. Ah, now here's a bunch of those reels of movies. Abbott and Costello never had a movie called Rocket and Roll. This is bits from Abbott and Costello Go to Mars. Yeah. Honestly, on this page, the best movie here is Curse of the Demon. On this page, objectively, the best movie here is Bride of Frankenstein. But my personal favorite here would be, on this page, would be Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman. I just love that one. The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. Notice a problem? That's from Nosferatu. That's from a different movie. Yeah, I don't know about you, but I've always, in my own mind, I've always called this movie Varan the Unwatchable. All right, we're getting near the end of the issue. Let's bring it on home here. Rodan the Flying Monster. Now, Rodan is actually a great giant monster movie. That Rodan is as good as Varan the Unbelievable is bad. Had to get a couple of superhero things in here. Now remember, this is 1965, so the Adam West Batman TV show has not yet hit the airwaves. It was on its way, but it wasn't on the air yet. Monster World was a sister publication to Famous Monsters of Filmland. Here's a dollhouse for monster kids. The Addams Family Haunted House. Last but not least, on the back cover, Hollywood masks. And these are the good kind of monster mask ads, the kind that actually give you a photograph, although it's a touched up photograph, but it's a photograph of what you're getting, not just an artist's rendition. And this has been Famous Monsters of Filmland, issue number 36. Listen, if you enjoy vintage horror and classic monsters, you will love my book series, the Mourner's Woods books. They're available on Amazon.com. I sell them as cheap as Amazon will let me, 99 cents for an ebook. They're also available in paperback, audiobook, and some of them are in hardcover. They're all different casts of characters in each story. The stories can be read in any order. There's different monsters in each story. And it's just chock full of vintage monster goodness in a contemporary setting. But I try as hard as I can to recapture the vibe of these kind of horror movies. So listen, thanks a lot for spending time going through this great old monster magazine with me. And I will see you in Mourner's Woods.